morning. I'm back.
Well, first of all, sorry I'm late, but
I'm happy to be back. I'm here to play.
there are some things I want to say.
I'm gonna make it real brief. Y'all had 2 weeks to do y'all's stuff, and let me do mine.
I'm gonna take my talents to South Beach to be here.
Paul Gerke, that is Mike McManaman. Good morning, good fall, good season, America. This is the only place on Flint Talk Radio to get your sports talk. It is Unsportsmanlike Conduct. We are here for 2 hours again today. As I said, it's a Friday, and it's a fall Friday. Have you noticed the weather change in your temperament at all, Mike? Because I'm just a happier person in the fall.
I like the fall more. I like wearing sweatshirts, and I'm a little bit more stuffed up right now, though. So.
See, my allergies are kind of on the wayside now. Like, I've gotten through the tough stuff.
I haven't. This is getting worse for me.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to the first snowfall. Does that make me kind of sick?
Yeah, I don't know about the first snowfall, but I like this weather, I like the temperature.
I'm looking forward to
football weather.
It is football weather, and we have plenty of football to talk about today. I'm looking forward to my first accident of the winter. It seems like every year there's always one, and I've got to get it out of the way.
The car is pretty dinged up.
Yeah, I'm hoping it'll survive one more winter. One thing you may have noticed if you're watching this right now on Stickcam is that there is no longer a chat now feature. I don't know if this is a permanent thing, but for now, we've got to get used to it. So if you'd like to talk to us, you can reach us anytime at 810-208-1854. We'll get your opinions in on the show that way, or you can hit us up where, Mike?
On Unsportsmanlike Conduct with Paul Gerke and Mike McManaman on Facebook.
We need a Twitter or a twatter. We need a twat.
Twat. We need something to twat with.
Yeah, maybe that's the next step.
Well, they can also type stuff. I can see it here in the chat. So.
Oh, we have a master chat apparently.
Master chat.
John is our dungeon master with the chat. So if you'd like to chat, we just can't see it. So you can berate us even more anonymously than usual. I was looking up Stickcam to see why the chat no longer exists. Now, I'm not finding anything, but in the news section of the Stickcam section on Wikipedia...
Well, Wikipedia is the best source for news.
I've never been wrong when quoting Wikipedia. I've never discovered any really egregious errors.
Well, on the Bay City, Michigan page, if our fans want to look it up, we have a local celebrity on our hands. Local media personality Paul Gerke is one of the notable people from Bay City. I don't know who put it on there.
Yeah, Mike understands that anybody can post something on Wikipedia. That doesn't mean that that's not true, though. I mean, I am a media personality, and I am from Bay City.
You don't even know where you're from.
Okay, let me preface this. I have lived my entire life, essentially, in the Davison region, Davison area, I guess Davison Township or Richfield Township. Yet, I was born in Bad Axe. I spent the first couple of years of my childhood in Caseville. See, there's no hospital in Caseville, so I had to be born in Bad Axe or a bathtub. That was the other alternative. Anyway, on the Stickcam Wikipedia page, Stickcam user Jonathan Richard Hawk was charged with rape, which he broadcasted live on the site. That's all it's telling me about the news. He set up his laptop webcam, had sex with an unconscious female that he had begun dating. I'm sorry, rape's not funny. Had begun dating 2 weeks prior, and then that was uploaded to another website. That is all there is for news on Stickcam. It's about this recorded rape. So I'm guessing that the chat function is really not a priority for them. But maybe we'll figure, what's with the silent treatment? I thought that was pretty interesting. That's an abuse of media, man.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't see unconscious the first time I read it. That's kind of why I giggled. Oh, is this a sports show?
To hell.
If this is a sports show, we should probably start talking about sports. See, now I'm being punished by the powers that be, because when I try to close out of the article, it won't let me do it. Let's talk about the Lions game. The Lions, if you were drinking the Kool-Aid a little earlier in the season.
I wasn't.
Yeah. I thought they'd be 1-2 at this point, but I'm one game off. They lost 24-10 last Sunday against Minnesota in Minnesota. It's their 22nd consecutive road loss dating back over 3 years. What did you think about the game, first of all, before we delve into any statistics?
Bad game. It was the worst one I've seen the Lions play. Part of that was Javid Best being hurt for part of it, and then they just collapsed in the second half. After that, at the end of the first half of the decision to kick the field goal, after that it was all downhill. Adrian Peterson just decided he was going to run all over the place, and Brett Favre looked horrible, but that didn't really stop the offense from scoring. So
Yeah, Adrian Peterson had, I believe it was $160 on the ground. Yeah, 160 yards and 23 carries. That's 7 average, but amongst those was an 80-yard run. So if you take out the one big play, Adrian Peterson was really held in check. And his average only goes down to like 3.5 per carry. So I'm not upset about what the Lions did to AP. If he doesn't break one big run, it's an entirely different game. You mentioned the decision at the end of the first half to kick a field goal. For those of you who didn't see it or have forgotten about it, Jim Schwartz had the ball at about he got the ball at about midfield after a punt. After a couple big passing plays, they drove the ball down to about the 12-yard line with 13 seconds left in the game, or in the half rather, and one timeout. But instead of calling the timeout and taking a shot or two at the end zone and then settling for a field goal, Jim Schwartz let the clock run down to 3 seconds, called the timeout, and kicked the field goal. When you're a franchise that is beleaguered as the Lions is, you can't do things like that. No. You can't not take a shot at the end zone there.
No, you don't just take the points. You take the chance of scoring a touchdown. It wasn't even a chance because they could have took one or two.
You probably could have got 2 shots in at the end zone. With 13 seconds, you can get 2 plays.
Throw the ball up to Calvin Johnson, see what happens. There's no problem with doing that, but that was a really odd coaching decision.
Especially when you're outmatched. Like, listen, if you're playing the St. Louis Rams, which the Lions will do in a couple of weeks, and you want to take the points, you know what? I can't justify what he did in this situation in any situation. But if you're playing an inferior team and you think that you can hang with them throughout the rest of the game and you just want to take the points, I guess I'm not as upset about that. But nobody came into the game thinking that the Lions and the Vikings were going to be, a one-score game.
Well, some of the Lions fans were drinking the Kool-Aid and said, "Well, Brett Favre's playing bad, and he doesn't." Well,
he was playing bad, and I'm one of those guys. I came on the air last week and said that the Lions were going to beat the Vikings, and for all intents and purposes, they should have. Let's be honest here. The Vikings don't look that great. They're 1-2 for a reason.
Yeah, but the Lions look worse.
I agree, but I think a lot of that stems from coaching decisions, and then your best player missed the entire second half because of turf toe.
Yeah, but the Minnesota Vikings have had injury problems too, and the injury problems we have to expect them with the Lions by now. They always happen.
Yeah, we discussed that last week. I don't understand why they happen, but
it's always I don't remember a season where there wasn't major injuries to players. It'd be nice if we had Matthew Stafford and Javid Best healthy, but.
There's rumors that Stafford might be coming back this week.
He was thrown, or his shoulder is feeling better.
Yeah, well, I guess he was feeling better last week, but he hadn't thrown. If I'm the Schwartz and his coaching staff, I don't let him come back this week. I let him come back and play St. Louis, and they're terrible secondary.
They're not playing St. Louis this Sunday? Who are they playing this Sunday?
No, they got Green Bay.
Green Bay. Oh, yes,
in Green Bay.
Yep.
They haven't won at Lambeau since 1991.
Yeah.
I was 4 years old the last time the Lions won.
They made the playoffs that year.
Yeah. They've got Green Bay at Lambeau this week, and then St. Louis next week. I would save him for the St. Louis game. Get the Stafford and Bradford at Ford Field. Puns aplenty, if you will. But I don't want to put him up there against Green Bay's front four and that crazy man. What's his name? The long-haired dude that went nuts against Chicago on Monday night. The one out of USC. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Brian Cushing, is that the guy? No, he plays for Texas.
That's Texans.
Not AJ Hawk. He went to Ohio State. Now this is going to drive me crazy. The freaking animal down there that was killing Jay Cutler all night.
I know who it is. I can't.
That guy, for those of you at home.
Laurinaitis?
No, Laurinaitis plays for like Seattle or something, I think. Or no, that's we don't really know anything. Anyway, Brett Favre. We talked about Favre and his inefficiency. Favre threw for 201 yards, okay, which is pedestrian. Sean Hill threw for over 100 yards more than that, 30 yards more than that. For some reason, I thought Sean Hill eclipsed 300 this week. Of course, Sean Hill is a losing quarterback. He's throwing the ball more. Yada yada yada. You can make that decision yourself. But Favre also threw 2 picks. Brett Favre turned the ball over in this game 5 times.
Yeah.
4 interceptions and 2 fumbles. Mm-hmm. 3 of those turnovers were called back because of Lions penalties. I guess I don't agree with any of the penalties that were called. Those are things that are enforced. One was a hit to the head of the quarterback.
That was very weak.
Favre got killed on that play. I was pretty happy about that. Another one was a questionable pass interference call at best. It was a horribly thrown ball. That could have been a game changer, that pick. It was a horribly thrown ball, and it looked like the defender and the receiver got tangled up, and they were both pushing each other.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then there was the other pick. There was, I think, another pass interference call.
Well, one of the other ones, he threw directly behind him, and then they called it an incomplete pass.
Yeah, that was weird, too.
Yeah, and even the announcers who were, pretty partial and hate the Lions and love Brett Favre, they're like, yeah, that should have been a fumble.
I don't understand why the NFL needs Brett Favre to succeed. This guy's 40 years old. Put him out to pass show already. It just seems Sunday. I guess this is sort of the mentality of a Lions fan, where, and Mike and I discussed this before, where you come into a game and you just feel like you can't win no matter what. Mm-hmm. That you could play the most perfect football game, but yet you'd find a way to lose. Like the game is rigged almost, to steal a quote from The Wire. The game is rigged.
The game is rigged.
On Sunday, it felt particularly so because of the element of Brett Favre. It seemed like no matter what the Lions did, Brett Favre was going to get the calls, and Brett Favre was going to end up on top because the NFL couldn't afford to lose Brett Favre for the entire season because he's 0-3 and getting killed.
After the game, you realize it was mostly Lions' mistakes, but while we were watching it, we were furious about the officials, and they were pretty terrible. And there were things that it always seems the Lions don't get the benefits, and that's for being the Lions. They're a terrible football team, so they're not going to get the benefit of the calls. But I think at some point Jim Schwartz has got to stand up and say, you know what? I know he doesn't want to fine. I know he wants to keep his team, but he's got to stand up and say something about the officials, and maybe that'll get the NFL talking or thinking, and then people will be able to discuss it.
I think it's only a matter of time now before Jim Schwartz loses his job. Coming into this season, I really was an advocate for letting Jim Schwartz finish out this season and getting one more, and letting him see, letting the fans see what this team could do if it's built properly outside of the Matt Millen dark cloud. You know what I'm saying? Now, the way this team has started and with more injury problems, if you don't get to 4 or 5 wins this season, now the Lions' second half of their schedule is much more, I guess I don't want to say favorable, but you can win some more games in the second half of the schedule than you can in the first
Stafford
half.
too, so.
Assuming that Stafford's better. Someone made the debate the other day that Sean Hill's better than Matthew Stafford as a quarterback right now. That's a debate we can have another day or a little later in the show for Press for Time. But the Lions can pull some games out of the second half of their schedule. But the way that this team has started, with more injuries, with losing that close game to Chicago, to just mental mistakes, lack of depth in all these positions, you're just starting to wonder, when is Jim Schwartz going to be on the chopping block? You hear the rumors now for the Calvin Johnson trade. This is just what happened with Roy Williams before Mooch got fired.
I don't know Jim Schwartz's record, but I want to say it's one of the worst in like a 3-year span of any Lions coach.
It has to be the worst.
Yeah. So I like some of the things he's done, and everybody's excited about some of the way he's rebuilt the team. And he should probably have a little bit more leeway because of the Matt Millen era. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's probably going to be gone soon if he doesn't within the next season or two. I feel bad for him. He doesn't really have any hope. If you're a Lions coach, you're destined to be fired within the first few seasons because you're never going to actually win a game.
When we started the season, I really wanted Schwartz to succeed. I wanted him to get some rope. I thought that he was what this team needed.
But he's made some very odd decisions.
My opinion's starting to change a little bit. I'm starting to get on the bandwagon that a lot of people get on with Lions coaches when you're saying, what is up with the play calling?
Yeah. I need a Rex Ryan-like coach that's going to yell at the officials and be with some personality. That's what I want.
Absolutely. Why not? Why not make it a sideshow if you're not going to win football games?
Yeah. I like the fighting. There was a lot of fighting in the game.
There was. Sean Hill went after Jared Allen.
I want that. If they're going to be a terrible football team, I just want them to be punks and just start punching people. That'd be sweet.
Did you hear Jared Allen talk all that trash after the game, too?
No, I didn't hear him.
He said something to the effect of how he's always hated Detroit and he doesn't like anybody that ever came from Detroit. And saying that Sean Hill got up like some woman and started throwing elbows. You could look up the quote. It's pretty funny. But that skirmish was really the highlight for me of that game on Sunday.
Well, there was a few skirmishes afterwards, too.
One of the skirmishes, I guess this is a bad segue. I tried to make it the segue into the Java Best injury, but there's really no way because he wasn't injured in the skirmish. I imagine he was just injured on a run. Java Best with turf toe, one of those mysterious injuries that Mike and I always talk about, where your Madden player is out for the season with
Bursitis.
elbow bursitis. He's got turf toe. He missed the second half, second-degree turf toe,
Oh,
which
no.
sounds like something you'd hear on a Tough Acting Tinactin commercial. And John Madden, boom. So I guess he's going to play this week.
That's what he says. What was he had some quote. He said, I don't even remember. He said.
If I'm the Lions, I just sit him too.
Nope.
Another week.
Got a note here. It says that Detroit Lions Javid Best wins NFL Rookie of the Month. He did it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the first thing the Lions have won in a long time.
Detroit Lions running back Javid Best and his league-leading 5 touchdowns won the NFL's Offensive Rookie of the Month award.
I hope he gets a trophy for that.
Yeah.
He's never going to have another one in this trophy case. So, like I said, if I were the powers that be, I sit
Does
him.
that worry you that your star player and your rookie is going to be out with turf toe, is going to sit in games with turf
Well,
toe?
turf toe, okay, we joke about it, but turf toe, I guess, is really, really excruciatingly painful.
I know, but it just worries me that every time we have a good young player, they get injured. It's
Let's be happy that
Matthew
it's not like a
Stafford.
catastrophic knee injury
Yeah.
and then it's turf toe.
I know.
I'm not ready to start making generalizations yet, but the big knock on Javid Best was that he's injury prone
Exactly.
coming into the
I'm afraid
NFL
he's going
draft.
to be soft. And he's a little guy, too, so he's going to get killed.
Yeah, I mean, that is the plight of the Lions fan. You know what? I can't even make generalizations anymore about Lions players because they just seem to be cut out of cookie dough.
But that was, like, the reason I was enjoying watching the Lions was Javid Best. So we're one injury away from me not even wanting to watch the game anymore. After Javid Best, it was pretty much a disgusting game that I didn't really want to watch anymore.
That brings up an interesting point. At what point during the game on Sunday against Green Bay do you give up? Because it's inevitable, I think. Last week I got on the show and made a brazen prediction that the Lions were going to get their first win. This week I'm going to do no such thing. The Lions will lose to Green Bay this weekend, and by all accounts, it might not be pretty.
Be
At what point do you just give up?
Once Javid Best goes out of the game or they start giving carries to Maurice Morris, I think that's about the point. When there's nothing to be excited about, when I can watch Javid Best and he can do some things and maybe he'll break off a few big runs or catch a few in the backfield, and I can watch that and deal with some of the losses. But if the Lions can do some of the good things they did the first 2 games, I don't even say they did very many good things the third game. But if they can do some of those good things from the first 2 games, I'll keep watching just because there's a little bit of hope. But they're going to get killed.
The Lions always find a way to keep the Lions fan, the sucker, the Kool-Aid drinker, interested in the game. It seems like things just, I don't know, stay close for some reason. I don't know if that's going to happen on Sunday. I think I'm going to be in Detroit. I'm going to be at Cobo, the bar at Cobo Joe's, preparing to go to the Red Wings preseason game. So I will be watching some of the game there, and I will be disinterested because I'll be eating food and thinking about a team that actually has a chance of succeeding this season. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to be as hard for me as it usually is, cooped up in my apartment on Sundays before work watching the Lions lose. But I think like a 3-score deficit is about when I turn it off. After Sean Hill just decides that he's going to throw the ball to the other team in the end zone. I mean, last week Sean Hill had a pretty good game until it really mattered. When your team is down 2 scores, they drive down the field. He promptly throws a pick in the end zone on first down and goal. He didn't have to make that throw.
That was a horrible thing.
Into double coverage, and he gets picked off. The Lions get another chance to get within a score late in the game. They get down in the red zone again, and he throws another pick.
Yeah.
And it's like, ugh, it just rips your heart out. A couple other things about that game before we move on. Calvin Johnson, all the talk about Calvin Johnson possibly being traded, and when is that going to happen? He caught 6 balls for 56 yards. He's got 1 touchdown this season. What do you make of his performance, and what can he even do?
Well, the problem is the second wide receiver, Nate Burleson's out. He's constantly double covered because they know they're not going to throw it to anybody else. Mm-hmm. So, you know, who else is there to catch the ball? Maybe Javid Best in the backfield or Brandon Pettigrew when he accidentally catches a ball.
He caught 6 more accidental passes on Sunday.
Was it last week or was it the week before where there was 6 times in one drive they threw to Calvin Johnson? It was like 4 or 5 times. Mm-hmm. They need to try to just throw it up to him. He's 6'5". He's a freak athlete. He's set some records at the combine. They need to just take some chances and throw him the ball and not worry about the double coverage. He's 6'5". He's a freak athlete. What's the worst that can happen? You throw another pick?
Well, he was targeted 7 times, and he caught 6 passes on Sunday.
If I remember, he got hit pretty hard on the one that he...
Well, yeah, he went up into double coverage in one of those lob situations. I mean, I don't know what else he can do really right now to help his team. I mean,
Yeah.
you got your backup quarterback in. You're trailing constantly. Brandon Pettigrew's another interesting guy to look at. A lot of people say that the Lions kind of came up with a bust there. He was targeted 9 times on Sunday. He only caught 6 of those.
I remember there was like 2 or 3 consecutive times where he dropped the ball.
I think that explains the other 3 targets where he didn't have a catch. He doesn't have good hands, I don't think.
No, not at all.
It seems like the passes he catches are accidental, like they get stuck under his tits or something, and he's forced to carry the ball.
Yeah.
One more thing about the Lions game before we move on. Jason Hansen missed a 44-yard field goal. Granted, that's not a gimme, but is it about time to hang up the cleats? Hang up the cleats for the golden toe?
He's the least of their problems.
This is just a side note. I mean, this is why this is the last thing I'm talking about this game.
Yeah,
I'm not as much of a Jason Hansen fan anymore than I was back when he was the only Lion that could do anything.
He's the 3rd leading scorer in NFL history.
That's great. That doesn't
That's
really
sweet.
mean anything to me. There's no legacy attached to that. You play for the damn Lions.
Oh, it's something. But no,
Hauschka, I believe, was the kicker in the preseason. I think it's time to give him a shot. Let Hansen rest his weary toes and ride off into the sunset.
It doesn't matter.
It truly doesn't matter. Green Bay, Detroit. What's the score this week?
Let's go with 42 to.
They're not gonna kill him that bad.
42 to 17.
35-24.
Okay.
I think the line is like 10 and a half. I think they'll cover the spread. Rams 2 weeks from now. If you don't win that game, Sam Bradford comes in, the Rams are horrible. You know who their top 2 receivers are? Mark Clayton, who hasn't been an asset to any team.
He's been actually
before this season.
Okay.
Since like 2004.
Okay.
And Laurent Augustine Laurent, strike that, reverse it. Nobody knows who this dude is. Can you name any other player on the team besides Steven Jackson?
No.
One player.
Sam Bradford.
No, okay, we already said Sam Bradford. Name one player on either side of the ball.
I do know a few defensive players that have them on my fantasy team. Can't remember off.
Yeah, see, they're horrible. If the Lions don't win that game, what do you do? Where are you?
You're right back where you are every season.
Losing to the Rams?
They went 0-16 and they lose games all the time. I'm not really.
I think that's your shot to get the ship righted because that's when your schedule starts to turn around. But if they don't win the game, they don't win the game. What are you going to do? It's not like I'm not going to watch because you know what? We're probably not even going to get to watch that game. That's at Ford Field.
Is it? Well,
that's not going to be televised.
Probably not.
The whole Lions and Rams, who are the worst teams in the NFL, are not going to sell out. If you'd like to get on the Sports Talk, number's 208-1854. We'd love to hear from you, to break up the monotony of us bantering. A couple other things I want to hit on football-wise real fast and kind of go through the games this past weekend. U of M beats up on the Bowling Green Eagles 65-21. That's a game that U of M heavily favored in. I said coming in that their defense had to show something in that game, and that was all I wanted to see, really. So Michigan puts a hurting on Bowling Green. They win it by 44. Their defense held Bowling Green to only 283 yards of total offense, to Michigan's 721 yards of offense, which I think was the 3rd most in school history. The big news from this game is Denard Robinson's injury. Denard played less than a quarter, but still rushed for 129 yards and scored 2 rushing touchdowns before coming down with a supposed knee injury. What does Michigan look like if Denard... I guess I'm not even going to ask that question because I think we both understood that Denard was probably going to be hurt at some point this season, and probably more seriously than he is now. But what does his injury do to your team, really?
When Tate Forcier came in, he set a record, 12 for 12?
Yeah, he was 12 for 12 for 110 and a touchdown.
Well, I think the Wolverines are going to be in big trouble if he can't play, even though Tate Forcier was... Because nobody can do what Denard Robinson can do in the country. He's the leading rusher in the country right now. Mm-hmm. So you're losing a lot. You're losing a lot on passing. You're losing a lot on rushing. So I think they're screwed. I mean, I don't think they're going to compete for a Big Ten title regardless. Who knows what Michigan or Michigan State really is right now? This is when we'll be able to tell once they get in the Big Ten schedule because so far the best team they've both played, Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. So who really knows what these two teams are?
I guess the Denard Robinson thing, at least, he's a game changer in that when you bring Tate Forcier or even Devin Gardner into that offense, it's not the same offense.
No.
It's an entirely different game. Mm-hmm. I think now that Michigan is going to be competitive for a Big Ten title, just because, I mean, it's what? Ohio State, really, right? Iowa's got a loss already. Iowa lost to Arizona State. Wisconsin hasn't shown me anything. You beat Michigan State. I mean, you're right in the hunt of things.
Penn State's not. They lost, didn't they?
I don't know if Penn State lost or if they didn't, but I don't think that Penn State's having this banner year or anything. So, I mean, they're in the thick of things in terms of the Big Ten, even though they haven't played anybody. But, I mean, who has? You were listening to 97.1 on the way in here. They said something to the effect of that Michigan preseason was like 150-1 to win the BCS National Championship. The number now is 25-1, according to Vegas odds. How does that strike you?
That seems very odd to me.
Yeah.
I don't believe it at all.
Is that just the Denard Robinson factor?
Yeah, I think the Denard Robinson hype. The fact that they're 4-0 is nice, but they haven't played anybody. I think you really have to wait till you get in the Big Ten schedule, and then we can start making decisions when they have to play legitimate teams and we have to play legitimate defenses.
Meanwhile, while Michigan is toiling around with teams like Bowling Green, the Alabamas of the world are playing the Arkansas, and they have Florida this week. Anybody that says that an undefeated Alabama team shouldn't be in the national championship is an idiot. I don't think there's anybody making that case now. But when you look at Boise State and the big hullabaloo about whether or not non-BCS championship conference teams should be able to get into a national championship game, look at Alabama's schedule and tell me that Boise State does anything even close to that. Yeah.
Well, who's the number 2 team? Well, I guess it's Ohio State right now. So, yeah, they're going to have a tough time, Boise State is. Arkansas, they have Mark Ingram. They have Troy Richardson.
Trent Richardson.
They have, who's their quarterback? Greg McElroy. He made some bad decisions in the Arkansas game.
McElroy played pretty bad.
But they're a fun team to watch, and, they deserve to play in the national championship game.
A couple other notes about U of M. In that game against Bowling Green, they had 9 rushers that carried the ball more than twice. 9 people carrying the ball. 9 different receivers caught a pass. This week they've got Indiana. Indiana's 4-0, yet the teams they've beaten are 1-11 so far this season. So that doesn't tell you a whole lot about Indiana. What do you think the line is for this game?
I don't know. Look it up. But I'd say Michigan. I bet you Michigan will win the game against Indiana.
I've got a bad feeling coming into this week.
Depends on how healthy Denard Robinson is. I haven't heard anything if he's 100% or not. So.
Does he even need to be 100% to beat anybody? I mean, if he's 100%, he can go off for 250, right?
I think he does, just because he's a rushing quarterback and because he's bound to get hurt even more when he's playing. I mean, if he's slowed down even a little bit or he's already injured, I think there's a greater chance. We both think that there's going to be some catastrophic injury.
Has he gone down every game with an injury thus far? Okay, that's what I thought.
And the way he plays, he's bound to get hurt even more. So if he's even a little bit hurt, I think it's safe to say he's going to be slowed down enough where they're going to kill him, because he only has two gears. He doesn't just like slide. He lets him take him out.
No, he can afford to do that against teams like Bowling Green.
Yeah, but he can't when he gets in the Big Ten schedule. He's playing against some big linebackers that'll kill him.
We'll see. Indiana is the only team that Michigan beat last season in the Big Ten schedule. I expect them to beat them this year, but like I said, I've kind of got a bad feeling. They're ranked 18th in the nation right now. I think they might be looking forward to Michigan State a little bit here. Michigan State themselves, they beat Northern Colorado 45-7, taking care of business. Kirk Cousins, I believe, leads the Big Ten in passing.
Yeah.
He went 16 for 20 for 290 and 2 touchdowns. That three-headed monster of Caper, Bell, and Baker, they combined for 4 TDs. They've got Wisconsin this week, so they've got a tougher opening Big Ten game. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Do you think Michigan State wins that game, or do you think that Wisconsin comes away with it?
I think Wisconsin comes away with it. I think they're ranked higher, too.
Mm-hmm.
And all the people that know a lot more college football than I do are predicting Wisconsin. But Kirk Cousins is leading he's a leading passer in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm. Well, that doesn't really say a lot.
No, but that's still something. I like to see more out of the Michigan State defense before I can just jump on the bandwagon and say they're going to – Michigan State's done this before, where they started off strong, and then at the end of the season they just fall apart. And I think Wisconsin's a decent football team. They haven't shown anybody a whole lot, but I think they can trounce on Michigan State.
So let's look forward a week to Michigan State. we've talked about this game a couple times. If they're both undefeated, I think Michigan's probably going to take care of business against Indiana. Let's say Michigan State comes through with a big victory over Wisconsin. They're both going to be in the top 20. I mean, that's going to be a huge game, bigger than it's been in a while.
Yeah.
What does it mean to either of those teams to lose that game? I mean, if Michigan loses, it's kind of like the honeymoon is over. I guess we were never that good to begin with. Here we are. It's the same old Wolverines from the last 2 seasons. Losing to Michigan State, you're going to lose to Ohio State, and it's going to be judged a poor season despite how you started in your non-conference schedule. If Michigan wins that game, I think it's instant legitimacy for what Rich Rod has done to this program. I think it suddenly says, you know what, now that I've got my man at quarterback, we can win the games that really matter, the one against Michigan State and the one against Ohio State. And now you're looking at a 6-0 team. And, I mean, I don't care who you are or how bad Michigan's defense is and all the negatives that you hear all season, but you have to start thinking Big Ten title. You have to – I mean, that enters the mindset. Like, okay, we can taste it now. We got one of the big ones out of the way, Who does it hurt more to lose that game, Michigan or Michigan State?
I think it hurts Michigan.
Yeah, I agree. Did we lose you?
No. I think
Was that me?
Yeah, I think you hit that. I think –
Whoa.
Yeah. Right
She's
there.
sensitive today. Don't shout at me.
I think it affects Michigan a whole lot more. It affects Denard Robinson a great deal if he can't beat Michigan State for the Heisman talk. I think Rich Rod's job security is certainly an issue here. And I think Michigan's like the...
Is it still, though? I mean, could he really lose his job after this season, after the way they started and the dynamics of Denard Robinson?
Yeah, they could totally implode. If Denard Robinson gets hurt and the team just totally implodes, then yeah. The Rich Rod thing, the Denard Robinson thing, and just the fact I'm losing to Michigan State, that's horrible. And Michigan's an upper echelon program. Like, when you think college football, you think Michigan football. You don't think Michigan State football. So I think it's just beyond the name recognition, they have a better chance of being highly ranked with a victory here than Michigan State. Michigan State always has their little brother. They always have something to prove. So if they lose, it's just like, oh, that's Michigan State. This always happens to Michigan State. But Michigan's is it Notre Dame and Michigan are like the two most
winningest programs?
Yeah. So Michigan, I think Michigan's expected to beat on Michigan State every year in football. So.
Well, that's enough about college football. I put you through the ringer. I know that neither one of us are huge college football aficionados, although I have to admit that Denard Robinson is my Jesus this year too.
I've been watching a lot more college football this season.
Yeah, well, not anymore because of our commitments at the station. Highlight Zone Junior is going to kill all football that we have to watch from now on.
That's true.
Let's move on to some hockey, Mike. I had to do some research last night. I had Mike hit the books.
I tried.
I'm a professed hockey fan myself. I had Mike sit down with the internets and take a look at some things, and I wanted to talk a little Red Wings preseason stuff.
I have the internets. I'm going to do my best.
All right. By the time we get to this show next week, the Red Wings season will be hours away.
I know that they play tonight against Toronto at 7 p.m.
You went too far with your research because now that you've got a schedule, I'm not going to be able to stop you. And they play Sunday at the Joe against Pittsburgh.
I knew that too because you're going.
Right.
Haha.
You want to just read the schedule? I mean, we've got an hour and a half still. Let's just go through the whole schedule.
No.
Let's go game by game.
No.
They open the regular season Friday, October 8th, a week from today, at home against the Ducks.
Quack, quack.
I don't think they're implying the flying V anymore.
Oh.
Isn't it funny that there's an NHL franchise named after a Disney movie?
That's pretty sweet. That's good marketing.
Disney really did it the right way. I think they eventually sold the Ducks. I don't think they have any stake in them anymore. But that's why they went from being the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim to just the Anaheim Ducks.
What about the Los Angeles Anaheim Angels?
Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Yeah. Duh.
Angels in the outfield.
I saw Angels in the outfield when I was little. I don't really remember a whole lot about it.
Do you know what was the most inappropriate line I've ever heard in a movie before?
I don't.
It's in Rookie of the Year. Do you remember that? Where he?
I don't think I ever saw it.
Okay, this kid's he breaks his arm or something, and then he can throw some crazy fast pitches.
Oh, it makes sense. That happens all the time. Generally, debilitating injuries make us better athletes.
Well, yeah, and he goes to the doctor, and they told him to put his arm back, and it just slings forward for no reason, hits the doctor in the face because he can't control his arm anymore. It's crazy. Sure. And the doctor says, "Funky butt loving," and I never thought about how disgusting that was in a kids movie until.
I wonder how many times he had to say that to get it right, to make sure that he wasn't saying something else.
Funky butt loving. I thought that was a very odd line in a kids movie. I don't know.
Are you sure that that's what was said?
I'm positive. It was funky butt loving.
Are you searching funky butt loving on Google right now? Because I think Google Instant is going to have some fun with that. I thought we were going to talk about hockey, not funky butt loving, as you put it. I guess maybe I'll just start talking about hockey. The Red Wings preseason, the preseason in all sports really doesn't matter a whole lot. Besides the fact that it gets you guys. Are you pointing at your computer because you found something about funky butt loving?
Yeah, I mean, John could look.
Do I dare look?
John could. Can you bring up?
No, don't bring up a picture of funky butt loving.
No, not a picture. Bring up the clip. Is there any way to bring up the YouTube?
No, he's got it imported and stuff.
Oh, he's got it. Okay, let's.
Oh, he's got it saved already. Yeah, is that?
Yeah, no, I'll look it up.
Okay, type in Rookie of the Year funky butt loving. You should be able to find it. But be careful.
What has this show become? I'm going to try to talk sports here while you two talk funky butt loving. The preseason in most sports doesn't matter a whole lot. The NHL is no exception. You're really just trying to get a look at some of your younger players. Guys that you don't know whether or not are going to make the cut, guys that you might release, guys that are going to get sent down to the AHL.
Like Jamie Tardif.
Yeah, probably. Are we just going to name off the roster now, Mike? This is not the research I thought you were going to do. So you throw me off track. The funky butt loving thing really derailed me. I'll be honest here. I don't even know. I don't even want to do a show anymore.
Well, the Red Wings are 2-3 in the preseason, and Brian Rafalski is leading in points. Hedrick Zetterberg's following. You've seen some bad things out of Chris Osgood. You've seen some good things out of Jimmy Howard, except for the letting 3 goals in on the first period of the last game.
Howard did that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I don't think that I'm going to expect as much from Jimmy Howard as everyone wants out of Jimmy Howard this season. I think that, 35 wins is not a crazy amount from him because I think they're still going to give Osgood playing time.
Yeah.
One thing that, you mentioned that Brian Rafalski leads the team in points. He's only played in 2 games. He had a 4-point night the other night. That explains that. The Franzen injury is kind of scaring me a little bit. He's only played in the 1 game, the first preseason game when Brooks Orpik took him down with that knee. I hope that he's all right for the regular season. I don't really need to see him in the preseason to know what Johan Franzen's capable of. Yeah. But a couple guys that I was really looking for this season that I was hoping would impress during the preseason to give me reason to be excited about them, Valtteri Filppula is one of them. He's got 2 points in the preseason in 4 games, which is great, or 3 games rather. But he's a -4. Now, this is a guy that was sort of a defensive liability over the last 2 seasons, and those numbers just reflect that.
Yeah.
And the same with Todd Bertuzzi, who I assume is still playing on a line with Val Filppula. I've only seen portions of 2 preseason games this far. Bertuzzi's not going to be relied upon for much offense, but it'd be nice if he could get hot like he did last season. 2 young guys, and both of them are probably going to make this team. And Jakob Kindl and Jonathan Eriksson, they're in a -6 combined with no points between the 2. That's going to be your 3rd defensive pairing probably, folks, with Ruslan Saleh kind of thrown in there as a 7th defenseman. The Wings need to keep Kindle up on the NHL roster or they're going to lose him to waivers. So this is a guy that you're going to have to get used to, and a -6 in the preseason from your 3rd defensive pairing is not a comforting thing for me. And Derek Meach, who a lot of people don't think is going to play at all this season, was a -3 in the 1 game that he's played. If that doesn't scream defensive liability, I don't know what does. Do we have funky butt loving here? Okay, go ahead.
Tendons have fused with the humerus. Is that bad? It's unusual.
It's unusual.
Let's take a look. Okay, let's start with the fingers.
This is perverted.
Good, good. Now raise the arm. Good. Now to the side.
And now it's
good.
Makes noises.
Now bend at the elbow.
Here we go.
Good. And now rotate from the shoulder slowly. Funky.
What? Well, trust me, the rest of the clip says funky butt loving. Isn't that weird?
Did the kid say it or the doctor say
doctor,
it? Because it looked like the kid was mouthing it.
No, the doctor got hit in the nose because this kid can do this crazy thing with his arm now because he broke it.
That was worse than like WWF wrestling. Now, did the people watching Stickcam see that, or was it just the sound?
See it, but they could hear it.
You can hear
I
that.
Okay.
had a chance to download that. And
If you could see it, you would. That was horrible. That was me going like this, and then you going ah. Like, that was the worst acting I've ever seen. I mean, granted, it's a kids movie, whatever,
Yeah, it was
but
a kid's movie.
funky butt, and it just stopped.
But it's a butt level.
You can't say butt loving on YouTube, apparently.
But back to the NHL.
I don't know, man. What do you want to talk about in the NHL? I don't want to talk about the NHL anymore. I think Chris Osgood's done. I think he should retire. I think Kirk Maltby needs to stop trying to find a way onto this team and retire. Those are my opinions. That's it.
He's getting paid really cheap, though. I mean,
it's great. Veteran salary, roster spot, blah, 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 potential injury. You know what? I don't care. I'm not in the mood to talk hockey today. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I was really looking forward to it. But right now, it's like football season. I'm not in the hocky mindset yet.
Well, it's the longest season.
Yeah, but usually I can get pretty amped up for hockey season.
Well,
I mean, that's my thing. I don't know. I'm missing it right now. I got too many other things going on. I can't get into the Wings this second. I mean, talk to me a week from today and during the home opener, which I'll probably be missing because I'll be out shooting football.
Well, I'm having a hard time getting into the Pistons, but that's just because they're terrible.
The Pistons, didn't they move to Tulsa? I didn't know that Detroit still had a basketball team.
Yeah, they're practicing and letting people watch their...
You're not hearing a whole lot about the Pistons this time of year, which is kind of odd.
Stuckey said some things, and then there's different talk. I heard something about Jason Maxiell, but who cares?
Somebody said something, and then someone said another thing. And
yeah, but that's all it is. There's nothing, like, sweet to talk about.
We do have a couple sweet things to talk about on this show, though. We're about 40 minutes in, which means we got an hour or 20. We got all the big topics out of the way.
Did I talk good about Red Wings preseason?
No, but I didn't either, so I think it's kind of a wash. If you'd like to talk about any of those things and kind of save us from having to listen to funky butt-loving clips all day, you're more than welcome to. The number is 810-208-1854. This is Unsportsmanlike Conduct on FlintTalkRadio.com. We've got a bunch of kind of goofy stories to talk about. I think I'm going to let this become one of those shows where we just kind of like slip away and just... I don't know, get off topic, because that's kind of what I feel like doing today. I don't feel like a constructed sports analyst today. I kind of just want to screw around. The first thing we wanted to talk about is a story that you brought to me earlier in the week and posted on our Facebook page on Sportsmanlike Conduct with Paul Gerke and Mike McManaman. Go ahead and inform the people that haven't seen this article, because I think this is really interesting stuff.
Well, I was listening to NPR News, because I'm really old and boring. And they brought this topic up. The Bahrain team was playing the Togo national team in like an exhibition match.
Where's Togo?
In Africa.
And according to the article, they are the Togolese. Just saying. That's a funny thing. Go on.
Anyways. But basically, there's allegations from the Bahrain team that Togo's team was a fake national team. And they ended up finding out that that was true, that it wasn't the actual Togo national team. They ended up, the two promoters or something, or the two guys that booked it for the Togo national team were scam artists. They can't find them now. But they just picked up a bunch of scrubs from the streets, and they had them go play the Bahrain national team. And the Bahrain team was like, this is really odd. They're falling all over themselves. Like, they can't play they call football. They can't play soccer. Like, what's going on here? And they thought it was really odd, and they're really pissed now, but... I thought it was kind of interesting that could actually happen. Like, I can't imagine, like, you know, the USA team going overseas and you and I playing on their national team, and people be like, what is
USA
this?
sucks.
USA sucks.
Quote, Josef Hickersberger, the national coach for Bahrain, quote, they were not fit enough to play 90 minutes. The match was very boring. Apparently... these guys weren't even good fakes.
Yeah, I know.
But the most interesting thing is that Bahrain, fielding professionals, only won the game 3-0.
I know, that's really pitiful.
That's bad. If you wanted to determine something about the strength of your team, which is what the ruse is here, and you beat an imposter national team 3-0,
you know, they're probably just homeless guys.
Sucks.
They're probably just homeless guys they picked up on the street, and they're like, hey, do you want some money? That
goes to show you that everyone in Europe and, well, actually, okay, everybody to the east or the west of the United States is good at soccer or football. Because they could just pull dudes off the street and they could hold the Bahrain national team to 3-0. I don't think the Bahrainese or the Bahrainians are like soccer gods or anything, but can we call it football? Do we have to call it soccer? Because I feel like we're kind of Americanizing this too much. It's our show. We can do what we want, right? So it's football.
It is football.
It's more football. We're talking more football right now.
Yeah.
Can you imagine this in any other sport? Like you said, like the men's national team. Like if you and I went and played for the men's basketball national team, we would lose a lot worse than by 3 goals in a football game.
Yeah, it's soccer, so it's a lot different. Like the field's so big, and I guess
if everyone's just laying down, it's harder to move the ball. I guess I don't know. Like what?
Like if we were to go play professional football or American football, we would just get killed. We'd get annihilated. If we tried to skate around in the NHL, we'd die.
This is so crazy. I can't believe that something like this slides, especially when national teams are involved.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, how does that...
The spokesman rejected reports that the match was organized by a fake football agent, saying the agent in question had always been, quote, 100% all right.
He's an all right guy.
It's all right. Nah, I trust him not to rig national matches, and was now cooperating with the investigations. That's nuts. The Togo sports minister, Christophe Chao, said that he'd never been informed of such a game. He didn't know anything about his national team supposedly playing against the Bahrainians, the Togolese.
I don't even know how something like this happens. Like, it just boggles my mind. Like, I guess I don't understand how they schedule things. Like, how does that actually even happen? Like, I can't imagine that ever happening in any other sport.
I mean, think about things on a much smaller scale. Like, do you think if the Davison football team has a match scheduled against Clio, that they're going to get like the Clio freshman team or some junior varsity
this is a
girls volleyball team? Like
the national.
No. Yeah, this is at a national level. How do those mistakes get made?
I don't know.
That didn't take as long as I thought. Oh, hey, real quick. This is another really funny story. Chad Ochocinco, phone sex serial. Okay, now if that title isn't enough for you.
It's not.
Chad Ochocinco, apparently, formerly Chad Johnson of the Cincinnati Bengals. Get this, John. He has a breakfast cereal with him on it called Ocho Cincos, where he's holding a couple honey nut toasted oat things, life rafts, whatever. What's the name of a loop? What are those called though? Like
Cheerios.
a cereal? No, because Cheerios is the name brand. That's a misnomer. What are they called?
Oat cereals.
Oatos? Is there like a real name for them?
Oat-O's.
From now on, they're Oat-O's. Anyway, Chad Ochocinco, is on his box of Ocho Cincos holding these Oat-O's. The purpose of this cereal, it's released only in like the Cincinnati area, was to raise money for children. Everyone says that it's children. They're helping children, so it must be a good thing. There's a number on there where you can donate to Feed the Children. 1-800-HELP-FTC. Okay, can we call that? Can we call that number on here?
No.
I don't think there's any initial charge for calling the number. But basically,
No, don't call it,
the
John.
charity number was supposed to be a 188 number. 1-800-HELP-FTC also stands for something else, and it's a phone sex line. So someone in a sultry voice promises all kinds of naughty things for $2.99 a minute, and all the kids or all the parents that bought Ocho Cincos and decided to call to Feed the Children end up talking to a phone sex line. The best part was the mistake was initially discovered by a 9-year-old girl and her family calling the number on speakerphone. How does a mistake like that happen?
I don't know.
Like someone's printing up the box of Ocho Cincos. Now, not only is this a box of cereal, so it's like, okay, does the FDA have to approve what's in this box? Because, I mean, you can't just throw whatever you want into a box and call it cereal. So there's one regulatory agency. It's endorsed by the NFL because he's wearing a Bengals jersey on the damn cover. And it's endorsed by the NFLPA because it's a player's likeness. And it's probably sponsored by some like food company like Kellogg's or something. So that's another like big company. So you have all these fail-safes here, and yet that still happens. No one thinks, let's just call the number that we're putting on all the damn boxes and get a phone sex line.
I don't know.
This reminds me of a story. Okay, this is a personal story. Okay.
So, I know where this is going. Your phone sex.
No phone sex story.
Oh.
About missed numbers. Okay, for some reason, my cell phone number used to be the number for like a heating and lighting place. Okay. I used to get calls all the time from somebody. My number with a different area code was apparently like Reed's Heating and Lighting or something. It used to piss me off. I stopped getting those calls a while back. Over the last 2 weeks, I've had 4 or 5 calls from some like road construction contracting company, thinking that they're reaching like a big company with my phone number. So I get a call the other day from another guy who says, "Hey Ben, it's so and so from such and such. You called about this?" And I was like, "No, I'm not Ben. You've got the wrong number." And he's like, "Have you been getting a lot of calls lately about like construction and excavating and stuff?" And I was like, "Yes, I guess I have, sir." And he goes, "All right, well, I'll just have to take your number off the registry then. I'm really sorry about that." And he goes, "All right, I'll talk to you later, Ben." And then he hung up the phone. I'm like, "Damn it, I'm not Ben." So was he just screwing with me? Did he think I was just screwing with him?
Maybe that was a construction website I put your phone number on.
Oh, that must be it. But no, did he make a mistake by calling me Ben at the end? Or did he really just think I was messing with him? Like, "All right, Ben, I'll talk to you later." You dummy.
I don't know.
That pisses me off. How did they have my number? And see, that brings up the whole aspect of what should you do when somebody has the wrong number. Because my instinct is usually just to be an asshole. Like, "Nope, wrong number," and hang up. But it'd probably be a lot more fun just to mess with them.
Yeah.
To like pretend that I owned a construction company.
But you're never like, when you pick up the phone, you're never thinking about that. Like if you knew ahead of time, like if you knew somebody was going to call you, you could mess with them. But at first you're like, "Oh, well, you got the wrong number." That's the first thing that comes to mind. But afterwards you're like, "Damn it, I should have really messed with them. I should have."
That's what I should have done, especially because I kept getting the same calls. I might get more of them. I should just like order an inordinate amount of things, and they'll probably
You should do a sex line thing. You should pick it up and say, "Paul's sex chat line," and then
I don't
Ben's sex chat.
See, when I get a phone number on my phone that I don't recognize, I tend not to answer it like that. I don't just say phone sex line when I don't recognize a number, because that often leads to trouble. It's, "Hey, it's Grandma calling from your great aunt's house. This is not a phone sex line. This is my grandson's cell phone." It's a bad idea.
Ben's sex chat line, formerly Ben's heating and cooling. There you go, perfect.
All right, Ben. Okay, we'll talk to you later. I think that I should try to like order like a huge number of products, or like cancel a service and just see what they let me do. That would really put a bee in their bonnet if I did that.
A bee in their bonnet, yeah.
Anyway, that was all I had to say about missed phone numbers and cell phone calls. Do you remember when we were in high school and we called that one dude, Sir John Dortenzio, and we called, it was Justin Doran. We called Justin Doran, this kid we went to high school with.
This is really getting off track.
Do you have things to talk about? Is there like pressing sports issues? Because I've got a rundown on our envelope that we make out every week, and there's only a few more hash marks here. We're getting close to the end of the hour. Why start another topic now? Let's roll with the Ocho Cinco's thing here. It's fun story time hour on Unsportsmanlike Conduct today. I'm sorry if you don't want to listen to it. Go find Tom Sumner wherever he's got his thumb stuck up his ass. It's not here. Anyway, here we are on the couch drinking some booze or whatever we did in high school because we were so damn cool. And we called this kid named Justin Doran and pretended to be his employer, which I think breaks some zoning laws or something, and is probably a misdemeanor at the very least. But anyway, we called him and pretended to be his employer because we knew he was stoned. And we told him that he had to come into work and that he was going to be fired, or we saw him stealing something. And I don't remember really how it went, which is kind of bad when you're trying to tell a story. But he got really upset. And then at the end, I was like, "Oh, this is Justin Duran, right?" And he goes, "No." Like he finally found a way out. I said, "Well, who is this?" And he goes, "This is Justin Smith." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry to bother you, Justin Smith." And that was the end of the phone conversation. It's hilarious what people come up with under pressure to get themselves out of,
especially when they're
trouble,
high.
especially when you're high. The best thing you can come up with was Justin Smith. If you're watching this, Justin Smith, I got you good. We got 6 minutes left in the hour. If you've missed any of the show so far, you really haven't missed anything. The Lions lose. Michigan and Michigan State win games that they should have won. We tried to talk Red Wings preseason, but we decided that we're really not. We don't have that bone in our body today. No pun intended. We watched some funky butt loving, which really should have been a sign to me that this show wasn't going to go anywhere special today. And then we talked about the fake Togo match, which I think is probably the best story we're going to have today. I think that's all we have for
Well, we
you.
have the Tiger Woods sex tape.
Well, we could talk about sex in the second hour. We can devote a whole hour to sex if that's what you want to do. And we can get the funky butt loving clip. We should save that as a drop. We should really get our drops together and just funky butt loving. Like, that would be awesome. I think that would be the crown jewel of our drops.
How much time do we got? 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Let's talk about I think 5 minutes we can, the Tigers. I hate the Tigers. I don't like watching.
So not Tiger Woods, the real Tigers.
The Tigers. We got 5 minutes. We can talk about real sports in 5 minutes. Detroit Tigers.
Fire away.
Not doing it for me anymore.
No, the season's over.
Nope.
They haven't been competitive for a month. They swept the White Sox and they swept the Twins when it didn't matter. Cool. Way to go. Way to make me want to watch your terrible product.
Hey, but Justin Verlander won 19 games.
Is he done? Does he not have another start?
Wait, maybe he has another start to win 19.
Hey.
But I'd start him the last game of the season to get 20.
Just for the hell of it.
I would.
That's the worst that could happen. You lose?
I know. Give him 20 wins.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I mean, I don't even know the last 20-game winner. It was
Verlander, like 2 years ago.
Was it?
Yeah.
I heard on the radio it was way before that.
Nah. Now I have to look something up. I thought it was Justin Verlander. I thought he did win 20 a couple of years ago. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he won like 14 in the first half and then didn't get to 20, because that sounds familiar, actually. Yeah, the Tigers, I mean, next season, optimism always comes into
Well, they're
in
saying
the
Cabrera
spring.
might not re-sign.
What?
Yeah, I read that there's a chance that Cabrera won't re-sign.
He's not up after this year, is he?
Something, or he might be traded. I read something somewhere where it says if Cabrera is not re-signed or doesn't play next season, then they're going to be the bottom dwellers of the AL Central. It was like, well,
why would Cabrera not resign?
I don't know. I don't even know.
I didn't even consider that was a possibility. You know what? Well, screw him then. I don't even care anymore. If Cabrera doesn't resign, then I'm not really interested in the Tigers.
I wasn't interested before, but
I was interested. He won 19 games in 2009.
Yeah,
he got close. He teased us.
yeah, he always does that.
He got first was 17 in his first. Okay, he's won 17 games in 4 of his first 5 seasons. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, how old is he though? I don't.
He was born in '83, so 27.
Okay.
So he's got a few good live years left in that arm.
Here's the article. It's on MLive. It says Tigers would be bottom dwellers in AL Central without Miguel Cabrera. Oh, they just saying, why would they even write that article? Maybe I got the. I don't even know why. See, that's deceptive. Like, why would you even say that? Of course.
Local radio show hosts would have tough time getting to work if not for vehicles. That's very true, but it's not worth writing an article about.
Tigers will be bottom dwellers. Like, that makes. That's a
deceptive headline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike McManaman would have a tough time chewing if it weren't for teeth. Like, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, but
you're not going to lose them. Yet.
Yeah, but of course, Miguel Cabrera he was an MVP.
He's going to be the AL MVP. He leads in RBIs, and he's I think second in home runs or third in home runs.
I heard that he's going to have he might not be because Tigers.
I don't care. The individual awards don't really matter to me. The Tigers are dead. The Red Wings, I'm looking forward to once I get more into the mindset.
I have a problem with James Schmel right now for writing that article.
James Schmel?
That's his name, Schmel.
Okay, I'll tell you what. What we're going to do is we're going to stop the show for a little bit. How much longer do we have? About a minute? Okay, here's what we're going to do then. We're going to have a couple seconds of downtime in between the 2 hours. James Schmel?
We're not going to call him.
We're going to find a way to get a hold of James Schmel. We're going to find him on the internet.
No, we're not.
What the hell else are we going to do today? We're going to find James Schmel. You listen to me. I'm the host here. You are the other host. We're going to find James Schmel, and we're going to ask him about that article. And we're going to say, why would you post something like that, James Schmel? We don't have to berate the man. I just want to talk to him because I think that's a deceptive headline. And I think bad sports journalism is something that we should crack down upon in this show.
That's our job.
But do you not think that that's a good idea?
I think
I'm already looking them up.
You've
So
lost
we're going to be back in just a minute. We've got maybe more sports to talk about. I do want to talk about Greg Oden. I do want to talk about Carmelo Anthony
I
and
want to talk
the
about
trade that
LeBron
wasn't.
James.
You could talk about LeBron James while I look up James Schmell. And we're going to talk about an interesting promotion that the Tampa Bay Devil Rays put together over the last week. And then we could talk about Tiger Woods having sex on videotape and how much would you pay for it? Because apparently there is a sex tape and it's for sale. Unsportsmanlike Conduct. We'll be right back in just a second. Thanks for listening.